Hello and welcome to video 3 of the Space Weight Calculator app tutorial. And we are in Thunkable using an animation to show what gravitational pull is. And you have something like a soccer ball or whatever item you chose to drop toward the Earth and stop right when it hits that object. So in our blocks, it looks like this. So when that first button, the play button, is clicked, we have our image sprite turning on, and then it's traveling at a rate of 9.8 pixels per 1 millisecond. And it is heading in the correct direction, which is down. 270 degrees was down. And then when it collides with the Earth, we stop. We then have a reset button, which puts it right back in the location where it started. And our third button opens the next screen, which is what we're going to do right now. So we need to make our screen 2. Remember, here we called it screen 2, capital S, no space, and the number 2. We're going to go back and do add screen up here, and we're going to call it that exact same thing, screen, no space 2 with a capital S. Make sure that you have that exactly the way it's written here, and then click OK. When we get into this screen, it's blank, and we need to make it look like we wanted our second screen to look like. So we're going to have a label, a text box where the user can input text, a calculate button, a picture of Mercury, another label, 2 labels right here, and 2 buttons right here. So let's start at the top. What is your weight on Earth? That's going to be a label. We drag that over. You should be familiar with this now. What is your weight on Earth? And then underneath that, we need a text box. This is different than a label because it allows the user to type inside it. So text box is right down here. Drag it over, and we can put a hint in there. And I'm going to just do, in parentheses, in pounds. That way our user knows that that's our unit of measurement. So in pounds will show up in this box in a light gray font color when we test the app. All right, underneath that we need a calculate button. So we'll drag a button over and we will change that to be calculate. And now I'm going to pause the video and let you catch up, and then we'll keep going in a minute. Okay, the next thing that we wanted here was a picture of Mercury. So if you remember how to get a free copyright-friendly image, you open a new tab, go to Images, Settings, Advanced Search. I'm this time typing in Mercury and changing my usage rights to be the same thing, free to use or share, even commercially. And we have all of these images. I'm going to choose one that has a clear background or a white background. Oh, it is clear. See the checkerboard back there. I'm going to right click on it, save image as. It starts with Mercury, I'll remember that. And I go back into Thunkable, and this time I'm dragging an actual image over underneath my calculate button. And then on the right hand side next to picture, I can upload the file that I just downloaded, and that is the picture of Mercury, and say OK twice here and here. And I'm definitely going to need to resize it just like we did before. This time I'm okay with a smaller picture here. And you can do whatever size you would like, but we have a lot of information on this page, so I don't want to take up too much space with the picture. Underneath that, I'm going to do another label that says, on Mercury, you would weigh. So that's a label. I'm going to drag this over. On Mercury, you would weigh. And we can change the color, font size, etc. Later. Or if you have time, you can do it now. And you would do that by looking on the options over here. So font size, color is down here. All right, and then underneath that, on Mercury, you would weigh. We need 2 labels side by side. Do you remember how to get things side by side on this screen? What category is it in? Yes, it's in layout. Horizontal arrangement goes underneath that label. And inside there, we're actually going to put 2 labels this time. So drag one label over, and then another label. And the reason for that is because label 3 right here is going to change to be the answer. So we're going to code it so that when this button is pressed, there's some math that's going to happen here, and label 3 is going to change to the answer. Label 4, we're going to put our unit of measurement, which is pounds. You can either write out the word pounds or do LBS. And I'm actually going to make the first label, label 3, bigger with and probably bold. That way it'll be obvious that that is our answer. So I'm going to check off font bold, and I made it size 30. I'm going to change the text on that to be question marks, and those question marks will change depending on what people type in the text box. So now I'm going to give you time. I'm going to pause the video, give you time to catch up to that point. All right, the last two elements that we need down here is two buttons, again, in a horizontal arrangement. So I'm going to drag this over. And if you don't want to do it in a horizontal arrangement, that's fine. You can set up this page really however you'd like if you want to change the format of it. But I'm going to make my home button, button 2. So that will head back home, and button 3 would go to a next page, which we would create using the same process that we did for this one with add screen. It would just be screen 3. So now we need to do some coding here. We need to figure out how to make this calculate button change these question marks to be the answer. So let's go back here, and I'm going to look for this situation here. We've got weight on Earth equals mass times 1. Weight on other planets equals mass times whatever planet you're doing. So if we're doing Mercury, our math needs to be the weight that they type in, or the mass that they type in, times 0.38 Gs. So let's head back here and go into blocks. Button 1 is our calculate button. So let's drag button 1 when it's clicked. We want something to happen. I'm going to pause the video, talk with a friend, see if you can figure out what might go inside this part right here. All right, so if you talked about changing the label text from label 3, you are correct. So head to label 3, and we want to change the text, set label 3 text to, and then we have to do some math with that. So let's scroll up to our math section. We're going to be multiplying. So I'm going to plug that in there. Now, what are we multiplying? We're multiplying what they typed in times 0.38 because it's Mercury. And that's the number of G's that exist on Mercury. So in this spot right here, we want the text that they input. So I'm going to the text box section over here, and we want text box text. It's just the content of the text box. So we're looking for text box text. And we slide that in there, and then we need to grab a math block, a blank one, up at the top. And we're going to do 0.38. Remember, this is for Mercury. If you're doing a different planet, you would want to check this chart over here and find the correct number of G's that that planet has for a gravitational pull. All right, so now when that button 1, calculate button, is clicked, label 3, the question marks, will change to be the weight that they typed in times 0.38. And that should be their weight on Mercury. Next, we need to do 2 more buttons. So let's go back and do button 2 that goes home. Do you remember how to do this? Button 3 is going to go to the next page. Button 2, you will find open another screen in the control section. Open another screen, and we're going to duplicate that because we're going to do that underneath here as well. The screens have different names though. So button 2 is going to go back home, otherwise known as screen 1 this time. We're heading back to screen 1. Where is button 3 going to go? It is going to go to screen 3. That will be the next screen that you create. So you are all set now to test this out, see if your calculate button works, do some problem solving. You can change the format of this, and you can add more screens. The next thing that you'll do is actually export this app to a device. So when your app is 100% ready to go, instead of testing it, you're going to go to export and save. Well, you can do provide QR code, which will do this, and you can take a device that you have with you right now and scan that QR code, and it will put it on the device. The other way to get it is to export via downloading the APK file, which is that second option underneath export up here. So if you don't have the device with you that you want to put this app on, you will need to export it, which will download it. I'm going to close out of this so you're not confused. This is the option where you'll save it to the computer. Then it can be emailed as an attachment to someone who has an Android device. They would just open that email on the Android device and tap on that attachment, and they would be able to download it and install it on their device. So that's it. You guys did an awesome job on building your space weight app calculators. And go ahead and make it yours. Be creative and change colors, text, fonts, all that stuff. And I hope you enjoyed working with this.